We want to take you now to some breaking news out of Paris. In Paris, France, CBS News has confirmed that one police officer, has been killed and one injured in a shooting attack of some sort. You can see that there is now an increased presence on the streets of Paris tonight, which is, I believe, about 8:30 p.m. Eastern there. In the evening, the police now trying to secure this area. The Champs-Élysées, of course, known for its shopping plaza and a significant tourist attraction.
Champs-Élysées, the avenue is what leads up to, of course, the iconic Arc de Triomphe. This is a central part of Paris many tourists will be familiar with. Our affiliate, France 24, is covering this breaking news event, and we join them now.
Described as a return of gunfire. All that the police, the Paris police headquarters has been able to confirm through a police source so far is that a person has been killed, a person who was involved in that exchange of gunfire, that shooting at police. But like you said, we have absolutely nothing beyond that at this point. We do know the area in which it happened. Obviously, everyone knows the Champs-Élysées, wherever you're watching, it is perhaps, one of the most famous streets in all of Europe, if not the world. But it was sort of in the middle of the avenue. It was a little bit midway between the end of the Tuileries Gardens, for people who know Paris, and the uppermost section, the northern part of the Champs-Élysées, where it culminates in the Arc de Triomphe. So it was really in the central part of the area, and the Champs-Élysées, as you know, has become very heavily commercialized, and it's a place in Paris now, especially on a Thursday, Friday night, where Parisians still go on all the side streets off of it. There are a lot of clubs and bars, so it really is not just for tourists, but also for Parisians themselves. It's a real hub of activity, especially in the evenings in late April.
And we're getting more reports again from the police that the police think there is a strong possibility that this attack could have terrorist motivations, could be linked to terrorism. Of course, the timing of this very interesting. The 11 presidential candidates are right now on live television.
Yeah, obviously it comes, well, obviously the timing couldn't be more auspicious, in the sense that Paris had been in a sort of state of high anxiety for exactly these types of possible incidents. Just earlier this week, we had an incident in which two men who were described as having been radicalized, French-born, were arrested in Marseille, and police subsequently, in searching what was believed to be their home, their hideout, uncovered a small arsenal along with explosives, and they had been reportedly believed to have been planning some sort of attack that would have targeted somehow, perhaps one of the presidential candidates. Security around the presidential candidates, and let's not forget there are 11 of them, has been dramatically ramped up in the past days, in the past weeks. Because of the general climate in Paris they're under a heightened state of vigilance. Is a program that's been in force here for months now, the VVIP program it's called. But given that, coupled with the context of an imminent presidential election, with candidates racing, scrambling, crisscrossing the country in an extremely tight, very, very tight race, it's added to that sense of heightened anxiety. The candidates have all been, in close consultation with police, security officials. They've been very aware of the threat. So this type of incident is the type of thing that they had been expecting, in a sense. It doesn't come out of nowhere, at least from the perspective of the campaign. They had been on alert for just this type of incident. We're being told now, there's police sources saying at least two people, not sure man or woman or what the genders are at this point, but at least two involved in the shooting incidents. One of them was killed, as we reported earlier. But so earlier we were just saying it was one person who had reportedly shot at these police officers, killing one, seriously wounding another. Now we are hearing from police sources that it is at least two that we are being told by police sources were involved in this shooting incident.
And of course, that shooting incident, we should remind viewers, police have just, in the last few minutes, said that they think there is a potential terrorist motivation for those shootings. They have not confirmed that, but that is what we're getting from the police at the moment. And of course, Doug, the Champs-Élysées, a real centre point of Paris life, an iconic place for this sort of an attack.
Yeah, it really has been. And like I was saying, in recent years, the Champs-Élysées, it's obviously the place where you have all of the ceremonial events, in Paris and for France, from the Bastille Day parade. It's the gathering point. It's always been, obviously, an extremely heavily securitized area of Paris. You always have a lot of police around there on patrol. It probably has the greatest foot traffic of any street in Paris in terms of pure pedestrian traffic per hour. And it can get really crowded in the evenings, especially on relatively nice evenings here in Paris, such as this one, happening towards an end of a week in late April. The weather's been getting, well, it's been a little colder in the past few days, but it does bring people out more. But it's usually quite a mix on the Champs-Élysées of both heavily touristed, but along with the tourists, just ordinary Parisians who also see it as sort of a central hub for entertainment, restaurants, clubs, bars, a place to go out and celebrate, really. And like I said, the address that we were given really was at where apparently this happened was either outside around number 78 on the Champs-Élysées. It's right near a bunch of big sort of chain stores, globally known brands. Well, a Mac store. There's a Nike store, I believe, right across the street from there. There's a big French music chain near there called Fnac. So this is a part of the Champs-Élysées with also, a lot of places where people would have gone shopping. Often the shops are open late as well.
And of course, we should remind viewers that the 11 presidential candidates are right now on air on French television. They are with France Télévisions, France 2, which just to locate geographically is about 5 kilometres away from the Champs-Élysées. So, it is at some distance. It was certainly not an attack on where they were.
No, clearly, like I said before, with the arrest earlier in this week where the police suspected that somehow these suspects were in the process of laying the final sort of groundwork for some sort of attack that would have targeted one or more of the presidential candidates. If that was the intention of whoever was involved in this incident, they clearly were not, like you said, at the scene of the studios of France, the state broadcaster, France 2 television. But they couldn't have perhaps chosen a more symbolic target. We have seen incidents in recent months. We had one a couple of months back, an incident near in the Louvre Museum, underneath in the so-called carousel of the Louvre. Another, highly symbolic. You don't get more symbolic if you're trying to choose. What do you have in Paris? Eiffel Tower, the Louvre Museum, the Champs-Élysées. These are the names that anyone, even if you haven't necessarily been to Paris, will instantly pop to mind. So, indicating that they chose this target very deliberately. They chose this location, perhaps very deliberately, for its symbolic import, its symbolic reach, knowing that central Paris, it will be on everyone's radar instantly.
Of course, as you said, the police had been expecting this sort of an attack in the run-up to the presidential elections. The three primary candidates had essentially been warned ahead of time in the previous in the attack that you mentioned in Marseille at that time, but they've all been sort of ready for this and waiting for this.
They have been ready for this, and let's not forget that this has been an election that also has very much and especially on the right side of the political spectrum, very heavily focused on security issues, on terrorism issues, on protecting France, and a lot of sort of tributary issues surrounding that. So, politically, obviously, it's too early to get into any speculation, but I will tell you one thing. The National Front especially has been playing on a lot of those meat and potato issues in the past few days in this home stretch, in a manic home stretch of a very, very closely fought French presidential contest, one unlike anything really that France has seen in its modern history as the Fifth Republic. these issues have been very, very much hammered home by many of the candidates again and again and again.
Just a reminder for our viewers who are joining us now, reports from central Paris of a shooting incident. One person said to have been killed, a second person wounded in a shooting in the Champs-Elysee, right in central Paris. That coming from police sources. The gunman has been killed, but police, of course, warning people not to come to that area in central Paris.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that we have so early on some sort of indication or at least suggestion that it could have been terrorism involved, because usually in order for the police the French have been the French authorities, the French police especially, have been very, very careful not to put tags on these types of incidents. It's one thing the public does, on Twitter, there's always all sorts of speculation on social media, but when it comes to the authorities and the police themselves, they've been extremely wary of attaching labels or tags to the motivation behind attacks unless they have something pretty clear to go on. So the fact that so early on we have their police sources already suggesting that they have reason to believe that this might be a terrorist incident, that suggests they know something at this point that we obviously don't know, but they wouldn't just say that lightly, given the context right now and given the state of heightened anxiety where you don't want to create unnecessary panic.
Well, of course, Doug, you were saying this is far from the first attempt at some sort of an attack in the run-up to the presidential elections. We've seen a spate of them over the last week, culminating in Marseille last 2 days ago.
Yeah, just a few days ago. What's interesting here right now is, a lot of the French right now they've been living in sort of this constant mode of vigilance, and anyone who travels the metro system here, the express trains here, they're very used to regularly trains transport being put on stop while police search a suspect package left on the tracks. Something being held up for while some incident is inspected. Unfortunately, the French and French living in certain big cities have gotten all too familiar with this drill, with this pattern, with the aftermath of it, and being ready for this type of thing. But like I said, not to speculate too much right now. All we know at this point, there has been apparently an exchange of gunfire on the Champs-Elysee. Police saying at least 2 people, according to what they can tell us at this hour, at least 2 were involved in the firing of those shots. Man or woman, we don't know. One police officer killed, another police officer injured. So that is all we really know at this hour. And like you said, they're suggesting that there could have been a possible terrorist motive in this incident.
Absolutely. Doug, thank you very much for joining us on the set. Just to recap, for those viewers joining us, we will, of course, be bringing you more coverage of this unfolding story in central Paris. In the Champs-Elysee, a shooting incident, 2 people killed, one person killed, police officer killed, a second police officer wounded. Police saying they think it is a potential terrorist motivation for this attack. The gunman has also been killed. Do stay with us here on France 24. We will be bringing you more on this unfolding story.